Time for the Burning River Sportscast. Chargers 27, Browns 10. We'll break it all down right now. Welcome into a very special post-game live edition of the Burning River Sportscast presented by the fine folks at Tappan Media. I'm Kenny Thunder. Joining me tonight, he's a one-way ticket to destination disappointment. He's red hot, Ronnie Jams, and he's skeletons of fun. The Bone Man is with us tonight as well. Gentlemen, good evening. Happy to have you both.
I'm not happy to be here with
Back
you.
to red hot. Where can our listeners? Where can our listeners find the dopest dope they ever heard on a podcast? A number one rated football podcast in all of good pods, as well as the unofficial podcast of Cleveland Browns backers everywhere.
Well, I'll tell you, you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcast. I'm talking Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, Good Pods, where we are a number one ranked football podcast, and so many more. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, the only place you can find our video podcast, and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Our handle for all of those is at Burning River Sportscast, and we are on X with the handle at Burning River Pod. While you're at it, check out our merch, www.thetappenmedia.com/shop. Got all kinds of stuff in there. River gear, Chubb line, Brook Park Browns gear. I got all kinds of stuff for us being bad going in there soon. So just keep your eyes peeled because there's going to be some good stuff. But before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to some of our sponsors. Towpat Distillery. Towpat Distillery is an award-winning craft distillery located in Akron, Ohio. Towpat Distillery focuses on high-quality spirits carefully made in small batches. Towpat Distillery, handcrafted, award-winning, small batch, local, and family-owned, and available in 46 states online at towpath-distillery.com. And then also True Fan Travel. They make away games, home games with all-inclusive travel packages. They did trips to Las Vegas and Washington, D.C. this year, and next just a couple weeks here, right after the bye, the Dog Pound's going to take over the Superdome in New Orleans. We will be a part of that party. Make sure you get your round trip private charter flight booked. Seats are running out, and that's going to be a hell of a time.
And we're on it.
It's a whole flight of Browns fans just getting ready to party.
Us.
Yeah, just because the team
fans and us.
Yeah, we'll be there too. But just because the team's not good doesn't mean that Browns fans don't know how to party. So come party with us. There's also a 3-night stay at Renaissance New Orleans, Père Marquette, French Quarter. All-inclusive cruise down the Mississippi River with the Dog Pound, Q&A with Kevin Mack. Christian Kirksey will be there as well, and Bridget Linton will also be joining. Pep rally the day before, all-inclusive tailgate the day of, tickets to the game at the Superdome, and on-site trip coordinators to help out with anything you may need. So
I didn't see Kirko got confirmed. That's nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So, but on today's show, this is what you can look forward to. We're going to do a recap of the Browns game against the Chargers. I don't really want to, but we're going to do it anyways. We'll give you our initial reactions, how bad we're feeling about the Browns right now, how we think they're going to do coming out of the bye. And then we're going to bring you our King of the North picks for the bye week on this show, because we will not have our normal show on Thursday, which we'll get into more later. But I'm sure there's going to be tons more. Let's go ahead and jump into things by reminding everybody to call the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline.
Hot Take Hotline.
Yeah, Bone knows. Don't forget to call and leave your hot takes on the Hot Take Hotline. If you don't have hot takes right now, you're wrong, because just when we thought we had a glimmer of hope, the Browns came and just punched us in the mouth again and said, we are the worst football team in football. So please enjoy watching this crap for another, how many weeks we got left?
7 or something? 8?
Too many.
Brownstronaut just chimed in and said, fellas, this is bad. Yes. Yes, this is bad. Thank you,
It's
sir.
very, very bad.
It's bad. We'll get into that. But leave your hot takes on the Hot Take Hotline. That's 330-227-8080. Call and leave those hot takes right now. But let's get into the Week 9 recap. Guys, we'll just start with the Browns offense, or what they call it an offense. It was really bad. Like, not quite as bad as Deshaun Watson bad, but it was bad.
It was pretty close.
Yeah. But Jameis Winston did throw for over 200 yards, so he's by default, he's better than Deshaun Watson.
True.
Yeah. So real quick, Jameis Winston, 26 of 46 for 235 yards, 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions. And Nick Chubb, 15 carries for 39 yards. We'll start with those two right now. Let's start with Jameis.
The most impressive thing the most impressive thing is that Jameis turned the ball over 3 times and still threw for over 200 yards. He's
Yeah.
three
Yeah, because I know.
possessions and still eclipsed Deshaun Watson at his best.
Yeah, because I know that's going to be the comeback from all the Deshaun defenders is, well, Deshaun didn't turn the ball over. Okay, well, when you throw for 140 yards, it's pretty hard to turn the ball over because you're not throwing the ball very well. like you're not. And they're all 5-yard passes. You threw for 140 yards on 36 completions.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say Twitter was ablaze early and often with the Deshaun defenders. As soon as the team went 3 the first time, they're like, "Oh, this offense." There's all the people booing at this offense, and I was like, "Tell me you're a low IQ football fan without telling me you're a low IQ football fan." Like we watched Deshaun suck for 3 straight years. Um, this was Jameis's second game. Admittedly, he didn't play well, but
No.
like we watched 3 years of putrid Deshaun. We know what we have there. So to act like all of a sudden like the Deshaun is validated in his play, like no, there's no validating how bad he has been. Yeah, Jameis didn't play well. I think today this team kind of ran into a buzzsaw. I think this defense was, we said it on a show coming into this week, this defense was a good defense. They're the number one scoring defense in the NFL. They're giving up 13 points a game.
Well,
And
Kenny,
they were a tough matchup.
when we were previewing this matchup, what did I say? Is I said that the defense is very good, but their offense is equal as good as their defense is. Their offense is that bad. So unfortunately, our defense could not stop their offense.
Yeah, I mean, really, the defense played pretty well all day long, except for on like 3 plays. And outside of those blown coverages, which were bad because they all went for touchdowns, I mean, the defense played pretty well. Miles had a nice day. But
Miles
I
did
just
have a very
think
good
in
day.
general, like this team was probably the first team that was truly better than you. It felt like at the end of the day, like it didn't really much matter what we were going to come on with as a game plan. Like this team, they just out schemed and out coached and outperformed our players today.
Out coaching hasn't been that hard this year. So
No, we've seen a lot of bad teams outcoach the Browns this year, so there's that. But yeah, just the Deshaun defenders immediately. It was just like you have to be kidding me
you know what
because
you know what I find the most striking
he's
about
been so
Deshaun
bad.
defenders and them throwing out all these arguments and kind of jumping on things as soon as Jameis starts having a bad game is all you got to tell them is, yeah, but guess what? We aren't paying Jameis $230 million guaranteed. So
Yeah, yeah. I
and
mean,
he still played better than Deshaun.
let's not forget the reason the Browns are in this position with this roster and this coaching staff, like, is because of the Deshaun Watson contract. So, like, Jameis wouldn't be playing. Like, none of this stuff would even be happening if it weren't for Deshaun Watson. So, he's still the overarching reason why this team is in such a bad position.
Yeah, for sure. So
And I
obviously,
would
like,
say, because I think you read Nick Chubb's numbers there too, didn't you?
yeah, he was. I was
I
just about
mean,
to move on to him. 15 carries for 39 yards. So
I mean, here's the thing: when Nick Chubb is averaging 2.6 yards a carry, like there's something wrong with the offense. Like there's something wrong, and I'm not blaming even the players. Like I don't think it's the all offensive line was super terrible. It's just schematically. I mean, we've seen this all year long, regardless of whether it was Nick Chubb or whoever. The running backs on this team have averaged 2.5 yards a carry all year long. This run game is never going to get going, regardless of who's back there, because it's a shit scheme. They're
oh, it's bad.
they're they're not, whatever this Ken Dorsey offense is not made to run the football.
Well, that's what we said last week, right? It was is I said I don't necessarily believe in Ken Dorsey's offense. I think that Deshaun just had a good, or I'm sorry, I believe Jameis just had a good game last week. It was, I don't think that was anything scheme wise. Like it was something that just think that Jameis, he tried to, but he didn't make any mistakes. And yeah, I mean, I don't think anything Ken Dorsey
Yeah,
did
I mean
made them
he
that much
played a
better than they
perfect
did.
a perfect game in an imperfect scheme.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is you still watch, and here's the other differentiation for our Deshaun defenders out there is you heard consistently like a broken record the entire game. There's nowhere for Jameis to go with the football. His receivers aren't creating separation. Like that wasn't a problem all year long for
With
the
Deshaun, it was
receivers
the
and
opposite.
Deshaun.
Every
Like,
play you saw, they were like, "Well, this guy's open, and this guy's open, and this guy's open." And
right, we were watching guys wide open downfield, and they're going, okay, he's just holding on to the ball. Whereas, like, it was at least 6 times. The commentators were like, I mean, look, Jameis is holding the ball and pumping back there, but honestly, there's nobody open. There's nowhere to throw the ball. And again, going back to the Ken Dorsey scheme, how many times are we watching guys that next to each other in route? I don't
it
understand
drives me
this.
nuts.
This is not it's not a football play. You don't run 2 receivers out and essentially on the same route separated by 3 yards. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know what kind of offense this is, but it's not an NFL offense. We didn't
no.
run offenses that poorly in youth football and middle school football. I mean, you start to learn fundamentals of play calling early on, and it's like I don't even. It's like he just draws things up on a whiteboard and he's like, it's like the Water Boy
Do you
book. Like, I
do
got
you
the
think
green
he's
book.
like
Like, we're
Kevin
going with this. I
Stefanski?
drew this up today.
Do you think he's like Kevin Stefanski? He's
What's
like,
that?
he's trying to outsmart everybody, and really he's just outsmarting himself. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm
let
gonna
me put
run
all my
these guys
players
to
in
the
one spot
same
on the field.
spot. Yeah, nobody will know what's coming.
Yeah, if you put everybody in the same spot every time, every play is just like a Hail Mary. Like if we just tip drill, somebody should catch it.
Bone, I know that you don't have any love for Deshaun, so I mean, what are your thoughts on this whole, everybody jumping in as soon as Jameis has a bad game and talking about Deshaun and how
I
quote good he was?
Oh, I said this before we started the live stream. At no point in that game did I think we'd be better off with Deshaun. And you'd have to be like a crazy person to think that game would have been any different with Deshaun.
Yeah.
I think you guys already hit the nail on the head. Like the commentators just highlighting the receivers are covered up all day. I will say, aside from that one check down, I think he threw to Nick Chubb on the right side of the field there that got stopped on
On
fourth
fourth
down.
down.
And that, I think, was Jerry
Yeah.
Jeudy was just wide open out there, which may have been a reaction to the defender reacting to the throw already.
Yeah.
Because he was still kind of in the area. But, yeah, it was a rough day. I think I texted you guys earlier in the game. I was like, good thing the defenders can't catch an interception off of Jameis Winston because
He would have had 5 today.
Yeah, he would have had 5 today. But then they started bringing him down. So,
Bone, you bring up a good point there on the fourth down play. Is he did have a receiver open, but like clearly that wasn't the play. What
right.
play call was that? We're going to throw the ball.
He was 5 yards
behind the line of scrimmage on 4th and 3. Yeah. What was that? It's just a bad play call.
Listen, you guys are acting like this is a big deal. I just think it's just
same old.
Typical Kevin Stefanski, Ken Dorsey offense. I mean, that's what we've had all season long. We never run to the sticks.
Last week, I thought that changed. I felt like they were getting to the sticks on all the important plays, and that didn't happen. That didn't happen this week. That got thrown out the window.
Guys, we should have known.
And there was a time in a Kevin Stefanski offense when Joe Flacco was the quarterback where we did run to the sticks.
I think that was more Joe Flacco saying, to hell with this play call. We got to get there, not here.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco was Aaron Rodgersing Kevin Stefanski.
I think Joe Flacco probably got the play in, looked at it, and was like, my third option is going to the sticks. That's the guy I'm going to. So, I don't know. But yeah, Nick Chubb. I want to talk about Nick Chubb here for a second because I'm gonna use somebody's name here. We don't usually call out other radio hosts, but Anthony Lima mid-game said this is not Nick Chubb with a cry face, and I kind of was like, yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like Nick Chubb. He's coming back from an injury, but at the same time, I was like, I think it's pretty early to. He's only been back, 2 games or whatever. I think it's very early to sit there and say Nick Chubb's basically insinuate that Nick Chubb's never going to be the same.
Well, and again, I agree. I mean, I said this after the very first week he came back, right? Was that it seems like getting into game shape is the first thing. Like that's important. We all recognize like game shape is different than being in shape from a workout warrior perspective. And then getting in tune with a new scheme and figuring out where patience is important. Where waiting for your blocks to line up is important, and when you can hit the hole, like it's all essentially new to Nick Chubb. I mean, he hasn't played football in a year. This offense is a new offense, and like I said, it didn't matter who's been back there all year long to this point. Everybody has averaged 2.5 yards a carry because it just doesn't seem like a very good running scheme. Whatever they're doing,
It's not. It's not good. It's actually really bad. But yeah, I mean, I guess on offense though. So yeah, Nick Chubb. We'll stay on that topic for a second here. What do you guys think? What seems to be the issue here? You think it's just simply he's not back yet? Like you said, Kenny, he's not back to game shape. He's not back to being able to do the things that we are used to him doing. Or you think it's the line? You think it's a combination of both? The scheme?
Can I make an
yeah, I
observation?
think it's kind of
Does anybody else feel like he looks thinner than ever before, which is understandable?
I said that his first game back. I said he looks small.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like maybe he's down 10, 15 pounds of probably muscle mass from not being able to lift as hard or, train as hard as he could have, if you didn't have a blown out knee. So I think that could be an issue, I guess, with him.
Yeah, and I think where you most see that right now is on those plays where he had the opportunity for a second effort. And in the past, we're used to him bouncing off of a group of tacklers and bouncing into two more guys and finding space. And he just doesn't seem to have the gas to kind of get through that second, level of contact that we're all used to seeing out of him. So I don't disagree. I think it's a very, very valid point. He does look a little slimmer, and again, all those things are fair, right? He was out of football for a long time. It takes a while to build all that back up, and I'm sure probably just even as a doctors probably would tell you that like it's easier to rehab something like a knee when you're trying to be fast and strong at a lower weight.
Sure.
I mean, the bigger and heavier you are, the more impact there is on those joints at all times. So I think that's a very fair observation. And yeah, just like I said, it just feels like when he has those second effort attempts, he had a couple today where he kind of bounced outside and it felt like, okay, we're going to see Nick Chubb scamper. And then he just couldn't get out of the pile.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I mentioned it, but I don't think the scheme are really doing him any favors either. I mean, they're just, he seems to, on top of him not being able to kind of give that second effort that we've seen, it seems like he's not always put in the best positions either. Like,
he's getting hawked down by
like
Khalil Mack from the opposite side of the field.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I think what's funny is it's like, I think, Greco had mentioned this in our show a couple weeks ago. Like that old scheme was, pretty traditional zone run scheme, but it was predicated on the fact that you would get guys like pulling and moving through to take on smaller defenders. And that's where your holes were coming from in the second level was getting big guys on small guys. And that's just not happening in this offense at all.
No. Well, I mean, I know having a guy like DeJuan Jones on the line, I'm not knocking him. I think he played okay today. But he just, I mean, he can't move like those other guys. So you're not going to get any pulling out of him. And then some of these other guys are coming back from injuries. So you wonder, like, if they're at 100%, if they're able to do any of those more athletic types of blocking that we're used to seeing. So, not to mention they changed everything over to Ken Dorsey's crap. So there's that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just like, again, I'm more in tune, I think, with the guys downfield because those are the positions that I've played and things. So I have a keen eye for watching when things like receivers are in the same spot. But my guess is if Ken Dorsey's offense calls for receivers to be in the same spot, he probably doesn't have a brilliant plan for our offensive linemen at all times.
No, probably not. So, but one bright spot on offense that I kind of want to point out here is Cedric Tillman again. Continues to come along. Another solid game today, 6 receptions, 75 yards and a touchdown. So, and that touchdown was nuts. Didn't matter whatsoever because we were losing. It brought it to 27-10, but that play was nuts.
He almost had 2 touchdowns, but he got blown up on that slant inside.
Yeah. So another good day out of Cedric Tillman. Just want to throw that out there. And then let's move on over to the defensive side here. Myles Garrett finally came alive. We've been calling on him to to actually get home and make plays. We know he wins his matchup all the time. It just gets if you're telling me that you're content with him just winning his matchup all the time and not seeing him get sacks as a Browns fan, I think you're lying to yourself. It's always good to see Miles get home and get a sack, and he had 3 of them in the first half today. So a lot of fun to watch.
Look, here's the thing. Miles Garrett is one of my favorite football players of all time. But if I have to take a step back, because even on the morning show this morning, um, I heard Metcalf talking, and I think it was him and Cribbs, and they were talking about Deshaun Watson when he comes back, when he's healthy. Is he going to be the starter? And they were like, probably, yeah, because you still have all this money involved. The Browns should do right by Miles and send him to a contender and take the draft picks, because this team isn't going to win anything significant while Deshaun Watson is on this roster being paid that kind of money, when they're going to try and force feed him into lineups and into the game where he doesn't belong, even when he's healthy. This team's going nowhere. So Miles deserves the opportunity to play for a contender, and this organization should be trying to get 2, 3 first round picks out of him, because this thing's coming down, right? I mean, we heard mid game pretty legitimate trade rumors about Zadarius Smith being on the block as early as tonight or tomorrow, being moved, and Joku's being shopped to the Colts, to the Eagles, to the Chargers. Like, this thing is about a week from being blown up. And
Bye week.
and
Good choice,
then
guys.
yeah, I mean, a trade deadline coming up. So, and in the off season, I just assume that's going to continue. They're going to have to shed salary with some of these guys that are making a lot of money and try and recruit picks. Like, as much as I love Miles, I want Miles hire a Brown. I want to see him, break all the sack records and things as a Brown. He deserves better than to be handcuffed by Deshaun Watson for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I probably agree with you, and more so in the fact that because we are in complete rebuild, and that's what it's going to be. I don't care what anybody says. That's what it's going to be at the end of the year. They're going to try and lie to you and say it's not, because we got Deshaun Watson, and eventually he's going to return to form, but he's never returning to form. He's not very good, and we're going to be in rebuild mode. So get what you can out of Miles. And I'm not saying that as like Miles is just an asset, just it's just a business, whatever. I'm with you, Kenny. I want him to retire a Brown, but I also don't want him to be Joe Thomas 2.0, where spends his entire career here and never wins anything.
Yeah. I mean, like, the only thing missing from Joe Thomas's resume is a Super Bowl ring. It's like, it feels bad.
Or
We
like
love
a
Joe.
playoff
Joe's
berth.
class
Playoff
act,
win.
but well, yeah, right.
Yeah. So I just I'm with you. I think if somebody offers you something strong, you probably should take it and do the right thing for Miles. And caveat that with, make it be to a contender, make it be to like the Detroit Lions or somebody like that who has a chance this year.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's good, right? I mean, he'd make a difference on a lot of teams that are 6-2, 5-3, that have a shot at this thing.
Yeah. Outside of Miles Garrett in this one, though, defense wasn't terrible. They weren't fantastic. They weren't terrible.
I mean, it
But
was the secondary was the biggest problem,
yeah, and I don't know. I
and it
know.
was and it was Zell on. I mean, Zell took credit for 2 of those touchdowns at the end of the game and came out and said, "Those are me. Those are miscommunications. I got to play better." I mean, the thing is, like, Denzel, like, you're the lone statesman in the backfield. Like, you're the elder statesman. You're the guy that should know better. You can't be getting burned on coverages. You can't be forgetting. You got to cover
Deep
a
is the
third of the
deepest.
field.
Yeah, and Bone actually said it mid game. What'd you text us, Bone? You said when Zell got burned on one of those touchdowns, you said something's going on, like something's not right with Zell. I swear.
Oh, yeah. I just said something ain't right. Like, something's off. But
Yeah. And I mean, he was in concussion protocol this week. That would have been if it wasn't. It's real weird. Nobody confirms or was it a concussion? Was it not a concussion? Was he just in concussion protocol? Nobody really knows. So Potentially his 6th career concussion though. So,
yeah, I mean, you think that's pretty quick to come back from your 6th concussion.
Yeah.
So unless you just exhibited no symptoms like the following day and they said, no, you're good.
Zell, get yourself a Q collar, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it up, bro.
Maybe he has a whole week of just lost memory. He doesn't even remember the practices. I don't know. But
Yeah. He's like, did we prep for this game? Yeah. I mean, seriously,
I felt like
yeah.
every time they highlighted him on the man-to-man stuff, he was right there, breaking up the pass. The one commentator was like, I don't know why they go to Zell on that. He's like, anytime you throw man-to-man, like on a little slant like that, he's going to break it up. So maybe you should go to the other side of the field next time. But then, anytime it was zone or he had the third of the field, like you said, it was like you're coming up or you're stepping forward or you didn't go with your guy or whatever it was.
Like, how does that make any sense? Man's the hard one.
Yeah, and I saw Juan Thornhill that came in after Zell had made his comments that 2 of those were definitely on him, and Thornhill tried to kind of say I'm responsible here too. So it just, I mean, the thing is, like, those miscommunications aren't something we expect out of a Schwartz defense, right? I mean, Jim Schwartz has been such a godsend to this team. And we just expect better out of that. We don't expect to see blown coverages like that where guys are wide open in the end zone.
Yeah, and to that point, just talking about Jim Schwartz type defenses, the other thing that's been missing all year long, and again today, is we just don't force any turnovers. We just don't do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't force turnovers in the NFL, you can't really win games because then you have to be perfect on offense, and it's really hard to be perfect in the NFL on offense. So
I feel like last year's defense had a ton of turnovers.
Yeah.
Like that, it came up huge for us, especially early in the year. It was just like people were punching at the ball nonstop. And it's kind of missing this year.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
I totally agree. And another thing that hurt us, special teams, Dustin Hopkins, I mean, it was a deep kick and it was over 50 yards, but Dustin Hopkins just doesn't. It's like night and day last year versus this year. Not that he's terrible this year. I mean, he's better than a lot of the kickers we've had come through here, especially Cade York. But like he's just not. It's like I said, it's night and day last year versus this year. Last year he was so good, and this year it seems almost like he's, I don't know, just average at best.
Yeah.
So,
it just feels bad, guys.
Yeah, I mean, everything feels bad. I'm not saying good things. We're back to doing, nothing that a football team needs to do to win football games. Our coaching was bad. Our offense was bad. Our defense was bad. There was no turnovers that the defense forced. We turned the ball over 3 times on offense. We missed kicks. We just sucked this week. We were bad.
Like I'm out of ways to describe the futility of this football team.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
Well, you better gear up because we're about to ship 4 or 5 people out of here. And you thought our team was bad before the bye. Wait till we get back, baby.
Oh.
Next man up.
I know it.
Next man up.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the one thing we got coming is that it's pretty soon you'll be watching guys play that you've never seen before. So we'll at least have a reason that we're losing games.
Who's that guy? Yeah. No, I mean, do you guys have anything else for the Chargers game right now? Do you have anything else to add to this?
No.
I'll just say again, like I think like it was clear that like this Chargers team was better prepared coming in across the board. I think Justin Herbert threw for 250 yards in the first half and 2 touchdowns. And JK had a couple of nice runs here and there. I mean, their offense wasn't like a juggernaut, but I mean, when the Browns offense is playing that bad, that's all you needed. And I mean, honestly, like their offense didn't do hardly anything in the second half. It felt like, I think, what did Herbert finish the game with for yards?
282.
282. So he threw for 32 yards in the second half. So, they pretty much won the game in the first half. And, you kind of called me out this week during Kenny's Cliff Notes when I said that Jim Harbaugh has a proud, legacy of winning at the NFL on collegiate levels. And I think it was just on display today. Like he's a good
I didn't call you out because he doesn't win. I called you out because
I know it's the Michigan stuff, but whether it was questionable or not today, like he had our number every chance that they had. So
That's fair.
I just think those Harbaugh boys are good coaches, and
You're just always trying to take a dig
I
at me
think
whenever you can.
I think that Chargers team, because look, I don't think Denver's for real in the West.
No, Denver's
I think
ass.
this Chargers team, like if they play when they play their best football, like they can probably compete with other playoff teams. So they might make some noise this year in the playoffs.
Anybody who tries to tell me anymore, because I had multiple social media things where I had to respond to comments because people were telling me that Denver was good because their defense was so good and this, that, and the other thing. I told everybody today, all I said to everybody was Denver, the Broncos are pretenders. That was my response to everything. And then they lost 41-10 today. So suck it, Broncos.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, so that'll do it for the recap of this game. I think we've talked enough about it. Let's go ahead and get to the Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week. Nominees for this week's Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week, guys. 3 nominees, one from each of us. We'll start with Bone. I like that you went quarter chub, by the way. You're just so turned down right now. You're quarter chub.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. The orange is good contrast on the wall behind me. So.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this guy in TV and radio? Is that what you're telling me? No, but we'll start with you, Bone. Who do you got for Dog of the Week this week?
Well, thank you for letting me go first because I'm just going to take the easy one, Cedric Tillman.
That was the easy one that me and Kenny thought, so that's cool.
Yeah. Is that what you guys were going to say?
Nope.
Oh, good.
No.
All right, that's all I got. I think he continues to play well. He caught the ball today, scored a touchdown. Nice,
and
nice
that touchdown was
garbage
insane.
time.
Yeah.
But I think if he has a good quarterback throwing him the ball, Jameis on a good day got him the ball really well. And today he got the ball, obviously. But I think he's proven to be somebody who can get open and catch the football. So,
nice.
Just Cedric Tillman.
Kenny, I'll let you take it. Go ahead. Who's your Dog of the Week nominee?
Yeah, I'll go with Miles for having as many sacks today as he's had all season, basically.
That's fair.
3 sacks was a pretty good day. I mean, it's unfortunate. Like, again, we talked about like the fact that if he had this huge day, and I felt like it didn't impact the game in any meaningful way, but still, I mean, 3 sacks any day it's a pretty solid work day.
Well, it's like we've been calling on him to make plays. We said, obviously he wins his matchups, but he doesn't get home. Well, it seems like he finally did, and the rest of his team was like, yeah. All right, he's got us. We don't have to do anything.
What's frustrating is like we've been calling for Miles to make the play when it mattered, right? In the last 4 minutes when he was driving.
It didn't matter today.
You want him to come up with a game that closes it out, the play that closed it out. And what happened today was Miles advantage of every one-on-one opportunity he had and made it look easy. And the thing is, like, that's frustrating too, because Jesus, Miles, if you were just doing this every week, you'd have 15 sacks already on the season. But like, something's not right here.
Yeah. So just
but he's still my nominee.
Fair. Just to recap, Bonehead Cedric Tillman, 6 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown today. Kenny nominated Myles Garrett, 5 tackles, 4 solo, 3 sacks, and 5 QB hits today. And then I'm going to go ahead and put Devin Bush out there, thin at linebacker this week. Not that the defense played particularly, they weren't dominant or anything like that, but he filled in fairly well. He had 8 tackles, 6 solo. He had a sack himself and a tackle for loss. So solid day out of Devin Bush. That's my nominee for Dog of the Week. Filling in for JOK, who, by the way, is on IR and gone for at least 4 weeks. So 3 weeks now. So, but that'll do it for the Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week. Look out for the polls on social media tomorrow for everybody to vote on their Dog of the Week and tell us who you think. I think it's between your guys. I don't think Devin Bush has a chance, but it is what it is.
I'm glad you picked Devin Bush though, because he was my third in line. If you hadn't picked me for Miles, Devin Bush would have been my other nominee.
Well, there you go. So real quick, let's go ahead and go through King of the North. We won't be doing our normal show this week. We had to cancel this week's show because the Browns suck. Okay, that's not why we canceled.
We're taking a bye-week vacation.
Yeah, we're taking a bye-week vacation with the team. and have some other things going on that we can't miss. So we're going to go ahead and bring you our King of the North picks right now. We'll do a quick division roundup from this week. Pittsburgh played on Monday night as we were recording last week, so we added that in here. They defeated the Giants. We were all right on that game. And then this week they were on bye. Baltimore, and we're getting into today's games. Baltimore beat the Broncos easily. We were all right on that one. 41-10, in case anyone didn't hear me earlier. Cincinnati also beat the Raiders easily, and we were all right on that.
Joey Bay threw 5 tutties.
Yeah, I think that one was 41-25 or 24, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been 27. I don't know, somewhere around there. But we were all right with that one. And then the Chargers beat Cleveland easily. And we were all wrong. We thought there was going to be some momentum here that the Browns were building on, and there was not. We suck again. So for the AFC North, standings are as follows. Pittsburgh, again, got their bye this week, but they are on top at 6-2. Baltimore's at 6-3 right behind them. Cincinnati at 4-5, and Cleveland down at the bottom, where we are all too familiar with at 2-7. And current King of the North standings, Bone is 17-15. I finally made it back to 500 at 16-16, and Kenny is at 15-17. So we got a close race this year. But again, because we are off this week and taking vacation with the Browns, let's get into next week's games. Guys, there's only 2 of them. Baltimore, first of all, hosts the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. Kenny, who you got?
Yeah, I still think the Ravens are the class of the AFC North. I got to go Ravens here.
Bone?
Yeah, I completely agree. Ravens, they're just better. They're going to win.
Yep, I got the Ravens as well. There's really not much discussion needed. The Ravens are by far the better team here. The only thing that gives me even a little bit of pause is weird things happen in division games, and Joe Burrow just threw 5 touchdowns today. So Baltimore's passing defense isn't that great.
Yeah, but Cincinnati can't run the football.
True.
The Ravens can.
True. Next up here, Pittsburgh travels to Washington to take on the Commanders. This one is an interesting one. So we'll start with I'll go ahead and start this one. I actually have the Commanders in this one. The Steelers, I continue to I've watched quite a few of their games this year, and they're better than the Browns. I'll give them that, but I just don't when I think of the really good teams in the NFL right now, I do not put the Steelers up there. I think they've won a lot of close games due to mostly good coaching. I think that they're honestly kind of middle of the pack. I don't think that they're as good as their record indicates. So I'm going to take Washington in this. I have the Commanders knocking off the Steelers. The only thing the Steelers got going for them here is they're coming off their bye, which is nice. Bone, who you got?
I'm going Commanders as well. Home game for them, and I just think Jaden Daniels is just a stud. I don't know. He's really good, and I think he's the real deal. So I think they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Nice. Kenny?
Yeah, it's a tough game to pick. I love what Jaden Daniels has done this year. I love what Dan Quinn has done with this whole Washington football team. I think they've by far exceeded expectations. That being said, I think this game comes down to coaching, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to pick the Steelers. I think Mike Tomlin is going to be prepared. I think it's one of those things with a young quarterback sometimes there's not a lot of tape on him, and you kind of come in expecting him to be a rookie. I don't think Mike Tomlin's going to let his guard down. I think they're going to come in with a game plan for this guy. Look, they've just been playing tough football, and whether they're really good or not, they just play those types of games that just frustrate opponents. And I could see TJ Watt making Jaden Daniels' life very difficult this week. And I think when push comes to shove, I'll go in favor of the coach that I think is better here, and it's Mike Tomlin.
Nice. Yeah, and yeah, they play AFC North football, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously the Browns are on their bye, so no game to pick there. For this week, guys, final thoughts for anybody? We'll start with Kenny. Let's go with Kenny. Kenny, what are your final thoughts?
I have two. My first thought is, look, I said on our show a couple weeks ago, like, get prepared, don't get attached to anybody on this roster because things are about to get much worse, and that time is coming and coming quickly here. Guys like Zadarius, guys like Njoku, guys like Miles, guys like Denzel could all be on the trade block, could all be on different teams as early as next week. Look, I don't put anybody. I don't think there's anybody that's quote unquote safe, and it's not because even that these guys are bad players or anything. It's just it comes down to the simple math of contracts and what they're paying Deshaun and the situation that this team is in, and knowing that they can't run things back with this roster next year. So I think it's still to be determined whether or not like Stefanski and Barry will be back next year. If I had my way about it, they would have no access to rebuilding this football team because they're the ones that put us in this position and drove it right into the ground. But either way, like again, I just think things are about to get much worse, and this season is officially entering the slog where it's really unfortunate. There's a lot of people I think that are going to be taking an extended Browns vacation. I feel for all of our Browns backers friends that are trying to fill bars and things over the course of the rest of the season because a lot of what they do is dependent on guys showing up, coming out to these games to do raffles and things and buy merchandise so they can donate to charities both locally here in Northeastern Ohio and in their respective areas. So it's really a shame what this organization has done to this year's football team. But it's for all intents and purposes, it's over. And we're going to have to just come to terms with that. And hopefully we see a few competitive games here and there. Hopefully they can play spoiler to maybe somebody like the Steelers, maybe somebody like the Chiefs or somebody that's maybe, in a tight race in their playoff division, and then maybe knock them out of at least a home field advantage type deal. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But, this team should be better than they are, and they're just not. So, really unfortunate that we've reached this point. And the second thing is that Tuesday is election day, friends. We try not to get too political on this show. I don't care who you vote for, but get out and vote. If you haven't voted already through some kind of early ballot measure, make sure that you find time. Look, I know these things, they open up. I think some polling locations open up at like 5:30, 6 in the morning, so you can try and get there before work. And I think they're open until 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. So make time, find time, get out and vote. It's your democratic responsibility and obligation to your country. And this is an important election, as all are. And we want to see a nice turnout. So, like I said, either way, I don't care who you vote for, get out and vote.
Bone, final thoughts?
My final thought is I'm still pumped for New Orleans. I don't care. I was more pumped last week after we won, and I had a little bit of hope. That has been shattered this week. I live week to week. But I'm still pumped for New Orleans. And hopefully there'll be maybe some young guys proving something in the Superdome for the, wearing orange and brown. So it'll still be a blast. And, yeah, I can't wait. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Bone, if it makes you feel any better, New Orleans just lost to the Panthers today. So
I saw that they are quickly falling downhill from where they started this season because they look like thumpers in the first couple weeks.
Like the
Derek Carr. They're saying Derek Carr hung Chris Olave out to dry today.
I saw he was out. Whatever the rest of the game, did he get concussion?
He got a concussion.
Yeah, he got smacked. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, it was not good, not pretty.
Derek Carr let him right into a defender.
It was bad. And it's like his second concussion in like 3 weeks or something.
All right, real quick, before, did you see the ejection in the Lions game?
No.
The one Tom Brady got in trouble for.
Oh, did he? Because he was defending the defender, calling him out for it being a bogus ejection. New York ejected the guy after making it was helmet to helmet, but seemed clean enough, old style football play, but I don't know. It wasn't enough for an ejection. He got a 15-yard personal foul penalty, and then 5 minutes later they ejected him out of the game. It was just bizarre. I think. I don't know if I've seen anything like it in the NFL, but
good. What do we got targeting now? Like college football? That's what we're going to.
I guess.
It's like we said last week about the face mask in the end zone. Like they have these guys watching the game for a reason. Like, and you're gonna make bullshit calls like that everybody's like, that was kind of ticky tacky. Tom Brady, who is legally obligated not to criticize the referees, had to be like, that was pretty soft. Like, come on, guys, what are we doing here? Like, this isn't football anymore.
I like how you call the face mask from last week ticky tacky when he literally grabbed him by his face and threw him on the ground.
No, I'm saying the hit in this week's game was ticky tacky for helmet to helmet, and I'm saying that they couldn't make that right. When the egregious call should have been the face mask in the end zone that changed the outcome of the game.
Well, the crazier part is,
replay, which is whatever is in the rules and the replay rules, the kid doesn't apply to that.
The crazier thing is that they actually did, like New York called 5 minutes later and ejected the guy. So they were like, we looked at this and we think this was bad.
It was, you have to see it.
It was soft.
Right? It was soft.
My final thoughts this week, a couple things. One, I wore this shirt because I like to wear this shirt after we lose. And it's the we almost always almost win shirt. We didn't almost win. We didn't almost always almost nothing today. I was just thinking about, like, honestly, like I just need to add the shirt to our I'm giving away one of our ideas on air here, but I need to add it to our shop. I want to make a shirt that just says we always win on paper. Because that's all we are, is we're just paper warriors. Like, we're not
paper
good.
Champions.
We're not good. Yeah. But we win the off season. We win on paper every single week.
We always win the press conference.
Yeah, we win everything besides the game. That's what we win.
We always win team dance.
Yeah, and so that was the first part of my thought, and it takes me to the second part of my thought, which is we are who we thought we were. Like, guys, we got excited because Jameis came in and gave us a spark, and that was fantastic, and we had a lot of fun watching it last week. And we all three of us got wrapped up in it, and we picked them to win this week. We picked them to win handily this week against a decent team, and talked ourselves into it. Like, this is a normal thing to do. We're 2-7, but we're 2-6, and we're going to win this game.
I blame Joe
Flacco. And we had, we still got the memories of Joe Flacco running around in our head. Like, we are who we thought we were. This team is bad. This team is very, very bad. And they're about to get a whole lot worse because, as Kenny's been saying the entire show, we're going to trade away a bunch of our good guys for draft capital this week before the trade deadline. So just get ready, because number one pick is within our sights. And I guess the only question is which quarterback we're going to take.
Yeah. And I hate to be the bearer of continued bad news, but this week isn't going to be the only week that hurts. The next several football aren't going to be the only weeks that hurts here. Like, the next season and a half is going to be like this. It's going to be an influx of new talent, potentially new coaches, potentially new GM, trying to recoup draft capital where we can, trying to reconfigure contracts where you can, shedding veteran contracts that are expensive. And that doesn't all happen in 1 week or even in one season. So just prepare yourselves for the long haul, because this is, we're entering a period now of we're not going to have a lot of fun as Browns fans here for the foreseeable future.
We were out of them for a minute, but we're right back in the dark ages of Browns football.
The Middle Ages.
Yeah. So let me remind everybody once again to call the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. Don't forget to call and leave your hot takes on the Hot Take Hotline. Remember, we want hot takes. We want hot takes. The number to call, 330-227-8080. That's 330-227-8080. Call now. We want your takes. And be sure to check out our gear, www.dtapandmedia.com/shop. That'll do it for us. Kenny, what can we expect this week?
This week, we are taking a bye week with the Browns, but You can't expect us to be back next Sunday night, Sunday, around the same time, around 8 p.m. to discuss any trade deadline activity and this week's AFC North matchups. And then we'll be back a week from Thursday to prepare everyone for the New Orleans game after the bye and our trip down there with True Fan Travel. So keep an eye on our socials for any Browns news. We'll be following along as they go along. Like I said, we expect there's at least some trades in the works. We'll see what actually goes down. Maybe one, maybe two, maybe three, maybe four, maybe none. We'll see. But stay tuned. We'll have it all here on the Burning River Sportscast.
And check us out on social media. Tappan Media is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Tappan Media and Burning River Sportscast. That's this podcast is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Burning River Sportscast and on X at Burning River Pod. You can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, Good Pods, where we are a #1 ranked football podcast, and so many more. Guys, this was sad.
Yeah, it feels really bad.
It feels bad.
Feels real bad.
What else can you say?
Yep. Just we're gonna enter years of apathy. Just yep, there we are. There they are. We watched them. Yep. Yep.
I just want Bone to keep going awkward right here and just.
Oh, we're live. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good night, fellas. Bon appetit.
Don't just be a part of the problem. Be the whole damn problem.
And only you can prevent river fires. Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River Sportscast. Burning Rivers.
Good night, Cleveland.
Good night, Cleveland.
Good night, Akron.